depending on, keep lambs over here in the summer. Keep using here when we're setting up for group. In the summertime, we actually take our heavy pin down and we set up a working alley that snakes around the wall, and then a working chute here so we can run all our ewes in. And for our synchronization protocols on AI and whatnot, we can give them shots, we can worm them through there. It works out really good. These panels I built actually double as the snake, or the alley for the chute. So. Any questions so far? Sorry, I didn't mean to throw all that at you. But.
How often do you clean to the ground in these pens?
Okay.
Or do you just top dress during winter? Or?
Yeah, so we top dress. We clean in spring after we weed. So we talked about this year maybe cleaning in between landing intervals, but it'd just be hard to go somewhere with all the sheep. So yeah, we go through a lot of bedding, a lot of straw. We actually, today is the first day because I ran out of corn stalks, but we actually use corn stalks in these pens. I really like the corn stalks, they last a lot longer than straw. And I know you can get like little square bale corn stalks from a lot of guys. But, yeah, so we clean once in the spring, probably again in the fall right before landing. It ends up being a lot of work. But it's not the easiest way to do it rather than tearing everything down.
How many acres you got?
That'd be a question for Tom.
There's 15 acres right here in this corner, and then we lease 30 acres just south of here for pasture.
So did you do drop pasture or something?
Yep, yep, we do pasture. We go, after we wean, we wait till the grass is good, and then we'll turn out. But we start breeding in July into June with AI, so then we bring them all back in.
The that guard dog for that Pyrenees, I think it is,
Yep.
out there, is that a working dog, or does it go out with them to the pasture?
Oh yeah, yeah, she's really good. Yeah, she actually is probably terrified that you're out here.
Yeah, she seemed like it.
Yeah.
I was just curious, do you have any problems with her? My experience, guard dogs wander quite a bit.
Yeah.
And they have pretty large territories they want to cover, especially if they don't have any sheep to take care of.
Right.
Now they'll wander all over the place. Do you have trouble with that at all? Or?
She stays here if the other dog isn't out. If the other dog's out, then they take off. And then they're gone.
They run away together?
Yeah, but if he's locked up, then she stays here. She's really good too. I mean, it's kind of cool to watch them because you don't train them or anything. They just, we got her as a puppy, and we brought her here and put her in the pen with some ewe lambs. And the guy I got her from, he said, just keep an eye on her. If you see her chasing or chewing on them, just take a feed bag and shake it at her and scare her, and she will never do it again. I came home from work one day, she was running ewe lambs in circles. I took a feed bag and shook it at her and scared her. I haven't had a problem since. And she patrols. She actually sits at the corner of the barn back here. There's like a hole on the hill where she sits so she can see who's coming in the driveway and what's going on back here. Yep.
And the hill where the coyotes like to
Yeah. She's a good dog. Yeah.
I'm surprised she doesn't take care of your afterbirth for you.
Oh, they tried. Yeah, they tried. I've cleaned this trash can up. It was over there, and both of them had drug it outside, all over the place. Yeah.
Do you use round bales or do you use squares for hauling for your
Square.
squares?
Yep. We use rounds in the summer when we're feeding out here at our bunk barn. We can go out there too after the bunk barn. But, we like the squares just because I can kind of manage what I'm feeding a little bit better, especially in here with kind of specific. Speaking of feed, we have a couple different rations going on. So I like to feed grass hay. In the summer, I basically feed grass hay up until about 2 weeks before landing. Then I'll start sprinkling a little alfalfa on here. This group in particular has not gotten any alfalfa. So I know science says that you should be really gentle with how you introduce alfalfa on the small ruminant or ruminants in general. But for some reason, and I just realized that this year that I've always done it this way, I was doing grass hay out here with just a little bit of alfalfa, and I switched them to alfalfa completely in the jug. Now I've never had a problem with it. So when they go in the jug, that's when we switch to alfalfa. And then they come out here and they're on alfalfa for 45 days. And then we start our weaning program at 45 days. So I'll switch from alfalfa to grass. And full grain at 50 days, so then after day 50, they're just on grass hay. And we wean at 60 days on these, 60 to 65, depending on the group. All these ewes are on 3 pounds of ewe ration per day. These guys are on 1.5 pounds a day. Well, I'll say lamb, I up them. Our ewe lambs are on 2 pounds a day. It's just all different. They're all on different rations. Our ewe ration is basically just corn, soybeans, and it's got calcium carbonate in it and Lovastat.
What's your crude protein on that?
13.
And that's your, like, these are on 13?
Yep. That's what all these groups in here are on that. Yep.
Do they do, okay, so you use that year round then?
No, I
Not in
don't.
the summer, but.
Yeah, in the summer I do a corn and protein pellet mix, which is probably closer to 10 or 11%. Yep.
Twice a day or once?
Depends. Here, this time of year, I do 1.5 pounds morning and night. So I like, especially when we come in here, if you feed them in the morning and then don't grab them at night, it gets so loud in here. They do not like that. So I try to just feed them 1.5 pounds in the morning, 1.5 pounds at night, and then they keep quiet and aren't too bad to be in here. It's tolerable. But in the summer, when we're kicking ewes out to pasture, I'll run them to pasture in the morning, and then when I bring them back in at night, I'll corn them then. It gets them to all come back to where it's supposed to go.
How do you dispose of the sheep if it's born dead?
We go through the UNL vet center. Yeah, so you have a dead one, unfortunately. We just put it in a feed bag and we'll send it to the vet center. It gets a little costly to stay incinerated. We have buried some out here, but it's kind of hard. The ground's hard. Yeah, it takes a little bit. Sometimes we're curious on what happened. So it's nice to send them in and they can look them over and tell us. We had a ewe lamb that we bought this year when we got from Oklahoma and brought her back, and we had her for like 2 weeks. And then she just randomly died. So we sent her to UNL and had her tested, and then they had to send her to Kansas State to have her tested, and we still didn't get any answers on what happened. But, yeah, it's nice to have the option to try and figure out what's going on. Because you don't want to lose one, and then you're losing another, and then another, and then what's going on. It's just too late.
My dad just tossed it a couple miles away.
Yeah, coyotes will get it too. Yeah. Yeah. Back when I lived in Wyoming, we lived way out of town, big pasture setting, and we had a ditch a couple miles from the house. We just throw them in. Being this close to Lincoln, it's a little different.
What's the mineral mix you're using?
We use Vitaferm mineral. Yep. Do you mean loose or in the feed? Our feed.
Loose, that's all they had.
Yeah. It's just Vitaferm Concept A. We've gotten along great with it. So I work at a feed mill, and so I've gotten learned some things about it. But your general mineral that you can get at like Tractor Supply and Orphans and that stuff, that mineral is built to where their consumption is high. So they have to eat more of it, they have to buy more of it. The Vitaferm that we use is a little pricier, but we don't go through it. A bag there's probably 80 to 100 head of sheep around here right now. A bag lasts us probably 3 weeks to a month. Because once they get caught up, they really don't eat that much. We use protein tubs in the summer. Well,
You were talking about your wormer. What do you use for wormers?
we use Sidector.
Is that injectable?
No, it's a drink.
Good.
Yep.
Do you rotate wormers at all, or you just stick on one?
We stay on one.
Do you mass worm, or you just notch it in one?
Max. Yep. Twice. Depends on the year. Usually twice a year. We'll do. Actually, we're going to get ready to worm these probably in a week and a half to 2 weeks when we wean, and then I wean before breeding season, about 3 to 4 weeks out of breeding season. Knock on wood, I haven't had parasite problems here. I've heard that alternating wormers is one way to go. I've also been told that you should just stick with what works until it stops working, and then switch. I don't know what the right answer is there.
You're right. You're right. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
What do you do if the baby has like because it got stepped on by a horse?
I could show you in there what we do.
We
Yeah.
just took like some, not, but like it was more fabric than tape,
Yep.
and took a strong stick and just
But
put it.
Splendid, yeah. Do you remember that question? When we get going there, I'll show you. Good question.
Condition
can-
sports,
What's that?
condition sports, body conditions, can you talk about that?
Oh, yeah, I can talk about that. Okay, so I have an example in here. So,
You don't want pictures of land, so I'll be.
On the website, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Okay.
just don't want like.
so I probably.
Okay. Okay.
More than what they use, I like to be fast, but it's part of on the Clubland deal, it's part of selling, right? They come to the barn, everything is fat, chunky, it looks good. If they were all Dorpers or commercial sheep, they would not be getting fed near this hard. And actually, the recips that are in these groups are way chubbier than I wanted them. But I didn't have a way to really split them up and break them apart. So, I would say, I think, I don't remember for sure the numbers. It must be one is, do you remember, is one fat or is one thin?
Thin. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I just use my eye, but there are charts and things that you can look at. So 1 through 5, 5 would be obese. I like ours at like a 3. 4 is okay on the black face ewes, but 3 is great. I think this is probably a 3 in my mind. This ewe here is probably a 3 as well. I would say that ewe is probably more of like a 2. Like I don't like how thin that ewe is for me personally. This ewe is kind of thin as well. Everyone's gonna approach this differently too. It's objective, right? Or what I think is skinny, you might not, and what I think is fat, you might not. So this to me is a 1. I cannot get this ewe fat at all. She's been separated, fed hard. She's always been just a rail like this. Gets wormed just like everyone else, probably more often. And just genetics won't let her get chubby, I guess. I don't like how that one looks, but I've tried. And she won't put any weight on. You don't want them too fat, so they don't breed. So if you get up there in your 4s and 5s, we have a really hard time getting them to breed. Skinny ewes, I've never really had a problem getting to breed. It's not healthy or anything like that. The other thing is we feed them hard because the harder you feed them, your milk production is better. So there's one of my mentors, a saying he always used to have is you got to feed them money to make money. So we try to feed them the best hay and ingredients so we can get a hold of, and in turn our lambs turn out being bloomier and in better shape. Bananas here are speckle face. She might be a 4. She's always chubby. She always milks really good.
What do you do if there's a hawk around?
What's that?
What do you do if there's a hawk around?
A hawk? That's a good question. We haven't had any hawk problems here. We keep everything in the barn, so you never have to worry about babies. Oh, I mean your guard dogs should help with that if you have guard dogs. Yep. Be a guard bird or something. That's a bad problem in Wyoming. The eagles on the rivers, they don't get a lot of lambs every year. Actually, I think in Wyoming on the big range outfits, eagles are considered probably a top 1 or 2 predator of sheep. Yep. Yeah, and so the mineral, we keep just a loose mineral around every 10. I have like those big blue ones that the wind blows around for outside. Water. That's the one thing I was going to talk about. So that same mentor that I worked for the club, I used to work for him and learned a lot of stuff. Basically, when I would get there, I would feed, and then I would go through, and we had water buckets like this. And I never understood it, why he didn't just get big water tanks or automatic waters. And this is just personal preference. You don't have to do this. But we use these 5-gallon buckets, And when I would get there, he had probably 10 or 15 rooms of lambs. And I would start at one end and fill all those buckets, and go to the next one, the next one, the next one. By the time I got to the end, I'd have to come back and fill them up. And I literally would do that all day, just fill them up. He would get so upset if he would come into a barn and there was one stick of straw. Oh, straw in that, dump it out, refill it, fresh. So I applied that here, and I think it's made a tremendous difference on how I use milk. We try to keep fresh, clean water in front of them all the time. It's hard with our work schedule to keep them perfectly clean all the time, but we have it set up where we fill in the morning, and then Ori fills right when he gets home from school, and I fill again when I get home from work. It works out really good. They're never out of water. So we try to keep it clean and spotless, because the way he put it is you wouldn't want to drink a glass of water with a stick of straw in it, so why would they? So it's hard to keep them all clean, but that's what we try to do. Automatic waters are way easier. On our ewe lambs and stuff out there, we don't worry about it as much, but on our milking mamas, we try to keep water fresh and clean all the time. Yeah. Any other questions? I was going to maybe move us around so we could warm up a little bit out there and show you our bunk line and whatnot.